Good morning, everyone. I wanted to welcome you all to the 2020 Roadway Management Conference. My name is Robin Carpenter, and I am the Program Manager of the Virginia Local Technical Assistance Program, or LTAP, which is housed at the University of Virginia here in Charlottesville. We are honored to have so many joining us this year. Our Mid-Atlantic region, regional centers, we were a little bit uncertain how well a virtual version of the Roadway Management Conference would go over, but here we are 281 attendees later. The Virginia LTAP is one of 5 Mid-Atlantic centers that co-host the Roadway Management Conference. These other centers include the Delaware T-Squared LTAP Center, housed at the University of Delaware in Newark, the Maryland LTAP, housed at the University of Maryland in College Park, the Pennsylvania LTAP Center, housed at the Pennsylvania Department of Transportation in Harrisburg, and finally, last but not least, the West Virginia LTAP, located at West Virginia University in Morgantown. We have a lot of ground to cover, but before we start, I would like to take a poll. Alexis, do you have that poll ready? Okay. Can we pull that up?
Yep. Everyone, you should be able to see that poll.
So if you don't mind taking this poll, we'd like to ask, have you previously attended the Mid-Atlantic Roadway Management Conference? Okay.
We're good on that.
All right. Robin, I'm going to end polling.
Okay, that sounds good. For those of you who answered yes, how many RMC conferences have you attended in the past? Okay. All right, that's great. All right. I am struggling here for a second. Okay, that's good. We're going to go ahead and start. If we can, let's end that poll. Can we end that poll, Alexis?
Yep, the poll's ended. You can click the X in the top right-hand corner
to
close it.
Sounds good. All right, let's pull over here. All right, so
Robin, I'm sorry. Can you please be sure to click Display Settings drop down?
Yes, I sure can. Thank you.
Thank you.
It's looking extremely. Okay, here we go. All right.
Thank you.
So, well, we are glad to have so many here joining us. Let's get started. Our opening session this morning will be led by George Gardner. George is currently Program Manager / Senior Engineer at the Virginia Department of Transportation's Operations Division, where he is responsible for leading an expert and talented team in planning, performance metrics, data analytics, and program support functions. George has close to 30 years of experience in engineering and transportation and program management. His undergrad education is in industrial engineering, and he holds a master's in systems engineering from Virginia Tech. He is also a graduate of VDOT's Executive and Advanced Leadership Institute and the Transportation Construction Management Institute. He has conducted numerous professional presentations and workshops at various regional and national conferences. So George, if you are ready, you can go ahead and take it over from here.
Okay. Thank you. Okay, I'm ready for the next slide. Thank you. Thank you, Robin, for such a nice intro there. And I want to thank all of the administrators at the UVA-TTA, Beth, Alexis, Robin, and Matthew, and all to invite me to this. It's a great honor to be able to speak before you today. And I understand that there is several or all of you are very talented group of folks. So I'm hoping to learn a little something from you. We have time, we'd love to learn and hear what you have to say about this particular topic at least. So thank you very much. Okay, so we started a partnering program. I'm going to talk a little bit about what DIA does with it. A lot of people ask me to do that because they want examples. And so what we did is start a partnering process a long time ago, and then I added the risk management process to it later on. So we can go to the next one. Go to the next one. Okay, so most of you know, being in the Mid-Atlantic DOTs, about our DOT. If not, that's cool. We're much like other DOTs around the country. We're divided into districts, and there they are. Some are much more complicated than others, as you can imagine. A little bit about us, and I probably need to update this year because of the COVID-19 impact on our budget, which we all have to deal with, right? But we're really, it's like every DOT. We're responsible for the construction, maintenance, operations of interstate, primary and secondary roads, bridges, and tunnels. We have a lot of bridges and tunnels, especially down in our Hampton Roads area, if some of you are from there. It's still, believe it or not, the third largest U.S. state maintained road system in the country, believe it or not. So we have a lot of these secondary state routes, right, all over the place. And we have approximately 7,000 employees, and we had a budget of $5 billion, but I'm not so sure anymore after COVID hits. So I always like to talk about, like, what are we talking about here, right? So we're talking about collaborative risk management. Many of you probably have experience with risk management principles and methodologies in your own positions. You may have been involved in some partnering along the way. I hope you have. It really does work. But when I was asked to start this a long time ago, I said, okay, let me go out and do some research, right? And Henry Ford kind of summed it up, believe it or not. Coming together is beginning, keeping together is progress, and working together is success. Now, I had to go to the textbook definition, right? Very talented professors and researchers came up with this, and there's books about it. Believe it or not, it's a process based on trust and open, honest attitudes in which all participants in a project or process recognize both common and individual objectives and work to achieve those objectives through improved communication and cooperation. And most folks will tell you the strength in forging collaborative risk management partnering associations is the communication and cooperation. Okay, and that's no secret, right? We probably all have experienced that in our lives. Okay. So what are we doing? I always like to say up front, you're probably wondering, what are we doing? Risk management really is the systematic process of, you got to identify things first, problems in your projects. Many of you have done this. Assess, look at that with your subject matter experts, probabilities and impacts, and we're going to go through that. Mitigating, how are we going to mitigate these risks so they won't happen and or fix them when they do happen, right? And then it could control the project after that. A lot of you were probably experienced in project controls. So that'll be helpful, very much helpful. So you're probably wondering by now, what's this crazy guy talking about? Well, these are the benefits. These are the outcomes we found out about, okay? And it's true in probably your DOTs if you have a program like this and or, in other research areas. But really the typical outcomes of a concerted effort to partner with your contractors and consultants is obviously improved communications relationships. You'll probably hear that a lot this morning. It's really, then it goes to quicker, simpler problem solving. Okay, and I've experienced this. I've had, I've been in all kinds of positions and, in the field and everything, building huge construction projects and everything. And I've experienced this, and it really is quicker, simpler problem solving. And, there's nothing worse for area construction engineer or a district engineer to go, I can't make a decision right now because I don't have the information, right? But then all these lead to more efficient schedules, which in turn, right, it's kind of an iterative process, leads to completing projects within budget. Okay, and of course, you know, some experts say budget follows schedule, some say schedule follows budget, and all you can argue that all day long. Okay, so but really, if you have an efficient schedule, you're most likely gonna meet your budget on a big project, right? And now, of course, the priorities are safety, quality, and everything else. So you're going to meet those standards as well. Absolutely, safety first. So you're probably wondering a little bit about what we're doing. So, and a lot of DOTs call me about this, and I send them information because they want examples like, what is the other DOT doing? And I've got many examples from folks around the country like yourself. About 15 years ago, we changed, you know, governors, and like we all do, and we changed commissioners like all of them do. And one of our commissioners then had some great ideas about improving relationships with industry. Whoa, like wow, all of a sudden, you know, we were having claims, millions and millions of dollars worth of claims. Some of you can associate with that. And so they wanted us to form this committee, and the committee did form the partnering and risk management program. And also we had all the big contractor CEOs, right? That, you know, were demanding more accountability from us. And I don't know if this is how this has evolved in your DOTs or not, but quite often things come and go, right? And at the time, this was a big thing. We had problems. And then what we did, we reorganized a bit, or our commissioner reorganized us a bit. District construction teams were more focused on outcomes. It used to be that our construction teams were in with our residencies intertwined with maintenance, probably for 70 years. And then so somebody really smart said, no, why don't we break out apart so we can focus on construction, that these experts are awesome. Your construction people are incredible. Your maintenance people are incredible. But their focus, they're not spread around so much. So they helped start this program as well, because that was their sole focus, obviously. So some example projects. I don't want to brag too much or anything like that. Don't get me wrong, but a lot of folks ask me about example projects, so I'm going to talk about it. Gilmerton Bridge Project, Hampton Roads.
Excuse me, George, this is Matthew. I'm going to turn off your video. We're getting a little chop on your audio, so I'm just going to turn your video off, but please proceed.
Okay.
Go ahead.
So is that better?
We'll keep going. I think so.
Okay. All right. So some example projects, Gilmerton Bridge, Hampton Roads. It was something that was considered a success with all of the metrics, safety, quality, on time, on budget, and all that we're all used to having to comply with. Really, this was kind of our first one where we entered in risk management principles, which I'm going to go into here in a little bit on how to integrate those into the partnering process. It was kind of something, I think Caltrans was doing it. Anybody have anybody from Caltrans or anything? They were doing it, and I worked with them. Well, no, this is Mid-Atlantic. What am I doing? How silly I am. I must not have had enough coffee yet. But yeah, we worked with other states. In Florida actually was also integral in having the risk management program integrated into their partnering program. So here's another one. Everybody in the world knows this one, Woodrow Wilson Bridge Project. Many of you have probably traveled across it. We partnered with Maryland, of course, and I know we have fine folks from Maryland here today. They could tell you more about it than I could probably. I helped facilitate the partnership and risk management analysis on this project. And wow, you know, I heard, I don't know if I'm correct, but I heard at one time this was the largest, with the interchanges, right? With the interchanges associated on both sides, both states, largest project in the world at one time. So I guess that's not too hard to believe, huh? With the interchanges and the arterials. So, and they won all sorts of awards. And they did this project. Some other example projects. I was involved in a lot of things, helping lead in and facilitate projects, fourth lane widening. You know, we kept building capacity, and like that baseball movie, if you build it, they will come. And of course, every time we build more capacity and lanes and whatnot, infrastructure, more people move into the area, which is great for our economy, right? But we never seem to keep up with it, right? We can never seem to keep up with it. Another one, oh, could you go back real quick, Robin? I'm sorry. Route 5 Bridge project, yes, that's down on our Hampton Roads area, or yeah, and that was considered a success. We had a great contractor there. Go ahead, I'm sorry. West Point Bridge project, if you've ever been out to our eastern side of the state, you'll see those two bridges that are awesome. And the first one really that kind of started all this, believe it or not, was the I-81 scales replacement project. I-81, you know, we're working on all sorts of corridor improvement projects now with that, with technology, at least I am, coming in with intelligent transportation systems and everything, because it needs it bad. It's, oh my God, it's such a scary road to drive. I've done it for years. And we have some really horrific crashes and things, and we're trying to fix it. We're working really hard to help the safety there. But that won the big award. Here's another big award that our group in Bristol, I helped facilitate this one. I didn't make it in the photo though. Isn't that terrible? I didn't make the photo, man. Oh man. But anyway, they traveled out to San Francisco to receive this award, and it was a simple bridge structurally, Route 670 Avens Bridge. So now there's all sorts of other projects in the mix now utilizing these methodologies that I'm about to go through. Okay. Robin, can we stop for a second and see if there's any questions right now or anything that anybody wants to know?
And if anybody has a question, they can put it in the chat box, which is the bottom toolbar. And you can post that question in the chat box if you've got one, and we will get that. We'll flag George down and put that out.
Great, thank you, Matthew.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so collaboration, what it is, okay? And I know we all know this. We deal with it all day in our lives, our relationships, our family, our children and whatnot, in our profession. But sometimes it's kind of good to be reminded, right? It's really kind of going the extra mile to look at issues from the other party's point of view. Put yourself in their shoes and go, okay, I understand what this individual's saying now. It's not always easy to do under pressure. You know, pressure breeds that stress and makes things bad, you know. But if you can just try that one thing, and of course, it's commitment to each other. And in terms of construction and maintenance and operations, it's we have to comply with the contracts, right? You're really kind of sharing, you're stepping back and you're going, okay, I'm sharing a responsibility. I have ownership in this project for whatever position you have with it, okay? Whatever your expertise is professionally and all, how you apply that. And then try to be proactive. And I know all of us have heard this over the years and listened to experts and all this and about, you know, being more proactive than reactive. And I honestly wish we could do that. But I think what happens is budgets and stress in the government systems, operations make it sometimes hard, but we always try to be proactive, right? And that's what risk management's all about. Okay,
George, may I interrupt for a second?
Sure.
This is Matthew. So on your previous slide, we sort of building off of that, there was a question that came in, and the question was, when you say partnering, what did you do to improve relationships? Was it more presence on the jobs, et cetera? So how do you, when you say partnering, how do you improve those relationships?
Okay, so I'm going to go in detail there in a second, if you don't mind.
Excellent. Thank you.
So Leah, let's get there in a little bit, but great question. Excellent question. I wonder the same thing a lot. So what is it not? It doesn't change the terms of the contract. And this is kind of important to say because we can't work around that legal binding document, right? But we do make it better. You can make it better, okay? Everybody hates those big giant 4-inch binders of the document, right? And the contract and all. But we can make it better. I believe it or not, we can. It's not a scorekeeping relationship. I don't know about your DOTs in the past, but it would seem like there was a scorekeeping relationship going on, which kind of ruined relationships where the people would, literally say, okay, I won this decision in, this time. And then the other person would say, okay, well, I got this decision this time. And it's kind of basic human decision. And it led to a lot of claims, a lot of money, wasted money. And a giveaway program, a lot of people were blaming a lot of the DOTs for like an open checkbook. I don't know if y'all have ever heard of that, the open checkbook concept, where during claims, the executive would just open it. Okay, here. Okay, yeah, sure. Well, it's not that. It's not that. But I've been a part of all that, and it's not that anymore. We need to be more fiscally responsible, right? Okay, so next slide. I'm sorry. Process value. So it really is an old mentor of mine. Said, a pretty high up individual said, it's all about your attitude, George. And I'm like, okay, I better remember that. And going back real quick, those are the bullets. Obviously, trust, teamwork, communication, motivation, empowerment, issue resolution. And all of those are the key attitude points of forging good partnerships. Okay. So now we're kind of getting into the chat room question. What did you do to improve the partnership? Okay, so I don't really need to go through these 2 successful team charts. I don't think. I think, just let them, just kind of scan through. You're all seasoned in team building and managing them and everything else. So, but that's really what the character. There's a lot of research done, and these were the top bullets of what makes a successful team. So. Yeah, we can go to the next one. And a team's in trouble. It's kind of the opposite of all that the research shows. There's just unresolved conflicts, right? People carrying around baggage with them. Confusion, right? Confusion. Okay, now this is something that's really important. We all have different personality types, and it's important to understand each other for success. It really is, believe it or not. I've seen some massively huge projects go by the wayside because 2 hard-headed leaders just didn't want to get along. And we're almost like, oh my gosh, are you kidding me? Come on. So we have some specialists in our HR group that do Myers-Briggs testing. And they can also do the social style survey for you. So, and they go out and help the teams with this process. And it really does help, actually. I've seen improvement with it. Okay, so the process overview, collaborative risk management process overview. What is that? And let me, okay, so let me go back to the Christopher's question about when you say partnering, what did you do to improve relationships? More presence on their jobs. Absolutely. More presence and more involvement and more understanding where others are coming from. Getting together and doing risk management workshops, even if it's only a couple of hours or a whole day. Working to understand those other individuals, not just writing them off. Being patient, trying to not generate so much stress on teams, all of these things. And I'm going to go in a little bit more detail here now with your question. So risk management really is what the systematic process. This is where we merge risk management into the partnering process. And can you go back real quick, Robin? I'm sorry. Okay, so really it's identifying, again, I repeated this slide, just so, it's important. Identifying, assessing, mitigating, and controlling. And that's really it. Okay, thanks. Next, okay. Risk management is the the standard process, right? What is the standard collaborative process? All right, this is important. If you want to start a program, I can help you in your DOT and or your company if you're in private sector. You got to sit down and figure it out with the project leaders, typically the project managers and the specialist engineers involved, the consultants involved, the construction managers, inspectors, everybody. But it has to really kind of start where? In the preliminary engineering design phase. That's where we try to start it. That's where risks are discovered, and we do a risk review. In some cases, we do value engineering analysis. So we didn't all get the team. We get the team together and go through the detail efforts. Pre-construction. What are we going to look at here? And this doesn't have to be lengthy. Most people do this anyway. Most project teams, you think about it, do this anyway. And then what we do, we have a nice formal workshop, collaborative risk management workshop, and we go through 8 steps. And I'm going to get to that a little bit later. That is real important, and I'm going to show you how to do that if you're interested. If you don't already do it or whatnot, and then you have to have risk mitigation sessions. You have to go through that list of risk probably at least every quarter, and the bigger projects need it every month. So yeah, okay. And then you have what we do sometimes, we utilize survey software, and it takes like 3 minutes for the folks in their office to do it. So it's not a lot of work. I've always tried to make this process easy and blend it into your daily life anyway. Was there a slide before that? I'm sorry. Oh, no, I'm sorry. My bad, Rob. Okay. So policies and tools. I'm always good that, none of this is proprietary information. You can go look it up wherever you want. VDOT policies and tools. We've developed some guidelines. We've developed some basic tools, access database. If you're interested, I can send you what we use in the past. That seems to work. All right, collaborative risk management tools. I have spreadsheets, and I'm going to go into some detail now because I've got to get through a few more slides, and we might not finish all these slides based on the time frame, but I'm going to talk about the important things. And what we don't get to, you certainly will have the materials, I believe. Okay, so really, this is what it's all about: to understand the common expectations and goals, to understand the process, right? How are we going to make decisions, manage communications? And I was harping on this earlier, quick resolution, right? It's all about quick resolution to problems to avoid expensive end of the project lawsuits and everything else. And of course, to remove barriers and establish partnering relationship. All right, typical stakeholders are all of us and the prime contractors, of course, DOTs, utility companies, designers, federal, state, and local officials, and any kind of supply chain group that wants to be there, and construction inspection consultants. And quite often we'll have certain projects like local rescue, fire and rescue, and police, state police, and they help us too. Okay, so here we're getting into some of the mechanics now. This is what the typical successful workshop looks like. You can tailor it to your own needs. You can certainly do that, and many of you probably have. I could probably learn a lot from many of you. Really, you just want to do a quick project overview, and then you want to get into kind of like what I'm doing now. You want to spend a little time on the risk management principles for folks that haven't been through it before. And then you want to go right into some brainstorming. What are the key risk areas? Typically, in a lot of projects, it's safety, quality, environmental, schedule, and budget. And there are others, of course, it doesn't have to be limited to them. And you always have a special measure on a project that you might like. And then we developed, and I'm going to go show you a few of these: communication, decision-making process. Who calls who in the middle of the night when something goes wrong in the project? We have an issue resolution ladder developed from that. And then what we did, we found in the afternoon, if it was a full day workshop for a massive project, which I'm sure many of you worked on, that's the morning, and then the afternoon spent on really getting into the details of risk. You break into your expert areas, subject matter experts, and you solve a number of problems in those areas I listed there. And then what you do, you kind of spend a little time. Someone has a spreadsheet open, and or the database, And we start loading all these in, and we assign through a brainstorming process the probabilities of it occurring and the impacts of it occurring. And those two multiplied together gives you the risk score. Now, the risk score determines what you're going to focus on, right? First, second, third, fourth. So it helps you with prioritization. And then, of course, probably beforehand, the team has already developed a charter. Okay, next, Robin. Thank you. Okay. Typical overview. All of you know how to do this. This is just what we kind of go through initially when we open a project. Everybody understands it. Sometimes they don't, though. If you have a new construction team on a project, sometimes they like to go over the details, but most of them have already gone. Performance areas. Okay, so there's hard and soft performance measures, right? A lot of people call them that. I don't know if I like those terms, but for collaboration, it's the what some would say soft skills: communication, teamwork, cooperation, respect, issue. I say they're primary skills, actually. And the harder skills, some people say, more mathematical based. You can measure them with dashboards. Of course, the safety, quality, budget, environmental, schedule, materials and utilities, usage and things like that. The efficient use if you have performance dashboards. So one's qualitative and one's quantitative, right? Okay, thank you. So the issue resolution ladder, I don't know if some of you use this or not, but it works. It really does. So we get together at the start of a project and we say, okay, how long are we going to go before we resolve an issue? Okay. We start with the field folks, supervisors, project inspectors who are really kind of out there in charge of that project. And we say, all right, this issue, we hope you folks can solve in so many hours or whatnot. If they can't, it has to be pushed up to the CM and the superintendent, typically, and they get a few more hours, right? Or whatever. It's up to the team to determine this, because you know why that's important? Because you've agreed to it and you've signed off on it and you're committed. So the days and hours can change. Area construction engineer, usually if there's a technical issue, they would get involved with the design engineers and go back and try to make changes and things. And then it gets elevated up to the leadership area, vice presidents and district construction engineers. And then it turns into a number of days at that point, where they might have 2 or 3, 4 days to get a response back to us on the team on a decision. So we just don't sit there and the project gets behind, right? And it happens sometimes, but sometimes the CEO of a contractor and or a district administrator of a DOT has to get involved. We've been able to do the first 2 a lot. If anything, the bottom 3 were, when I was an area construction engineer a long time ago, we were able to solve stuff right there. So thank you. Typical barriers. Well, I kind of probably already talked about this. So these are, a lot of projects have the same issues we're finding. Not always, don't get me wrong. Everybody has a unique issue with the project, but typically scope validation issues and all of those other things. Typical issue, I always like to say when I facilitated a problem solving workshop, you would leave with something in your back pocket. And so many other times before, folks were leaving like, what did we do? What did we just talk about? What decisions were made? So we always document everything in a spreadsheet like this. Okay, so typical risk response strategies. I'm switching gears a little bit, going back into risk management. I have a lot of material. I'm sorry if I'm going a little fast. I apologize. Really, these are the typical ones. It doesn't have to be, honestly. But you want to, often teams will avoid the threat, try to transfer the threat, mitigate it, just work it out there or just accept it as something they're going to have to deal with. Then they go back into the mitigation process. Opportunities. What do we do? Do we exploit them? Do we take advantage of the opportunity, right? On project teams. Do we share it? Do we have shared responsibility? Do we try to enhance that opportunity even more and or accept it? And again, it kind of, when you get to the acceptance phase, you're going to go back in and you're going to enhance it, right? And share it. So All right. So here's some more. I won't go in great deal with this due to time, but I can always help you later if you ever want to call me. I have my contact information at the last slide. You have quantitative risk, which are mathematical based, and then you have qualitative risk, which are non-mathematical expert judgment groups, interviews, surveys, and things like that. There's a couple of little tools that most folks use, and I always like to simplify everything. The professors and researchers want to go into volumes and volumes of formulations and things. You really don't need to do that, honestly. Okay, thank you. So here's a little bit of a expected monetary value tree, and it shows you how to calculate. Sometimes projects use this, sometimes don't. I just wanted to throw out a few examples. Expected monetary value is one of the main quantitative risk management tools. And then we have another one coming up. We can switch. Okay. Oh no. Was there another one behind that? Okay. No. Okay. You can go. But thank you. Typical impact areas. Well, this is it. You have safety. Of course, I'm not going to beat that to death. And what we do with these categories, you as experts on your projects, which you are. You predict with your teammates what the probability of it occurring is and the impacts of it occurring. And then you get your risk score, and that's what you work on first, okay? Other things will come up, trust me. So this is just an example spreadsheet, and I could send these to you. I like to keep things simple because I never had time to make things complicated on projects. And I guess many of you probably would feel the same way. So I just kept things simple where we would have the risk scores multiplied, the impacts multiplied by the various probability categories that the team generates. Every project's a little different. Sometimes they're the same. So more about tools. I'm gonna just kind of breeze through these next because this is that Access database I told you I would send to you if you're interested in it. It's kind of dated now, but it still works. A lot of folks, it's not proprietary or anything. It's just Access, Microsoft Access. But it's really cool because it prints out reports and everything, and it's easy to use. And I have an instruction guide along with it and stuff like that. I'm not an Access database expert, so I always had to follow the instructions. So yeah, we can go to next, and this is kind of like the main entry screen. Once you get into the details of risk management, you'll start really respecting the tools, right? Like, oh, wow, this is great because it summarizes reports and you enter all this data. The better you enter and the more accurate data you enter into the system, the better reports you're going to get. So then we can go through a couple slides here. Okay, did want to describe this assessment guide. Okay, you can make your own scale up, but what research has found, the 1 to 5 scale for assessing likelihoods of it occurring, the probabilities of it occurring over here in this table, and the impacts, okay, impact categories here. A 1 to 5 scale is better because it doesn't really, some people use 1 to 3 scales, but that forces you, right? You're kind of like, oh, well, I don't know, I'll just say it's a 2, and you don't really get good math out of it. But if you use the 1 to 5 scale, you multiply together, you're going to focus on more areas. And of course, the area in the red is where you're going to start, right? Spend your time on because they're the high risk. And you can use this guide. This is a tested guide, project management guide. You can change it. I mean, it's up to you for your own project in DOT. So this is interesting. A lot of folks like this. So what we did, we generated a. You've heard of work breakdown structures and classic project management. So, and then there's risk management breakdown structures. Risk management is a part of overall project management, as you know, for folks who are project managers. So we created certain things that were, pertaining to VDOT. You had, and everything fit in one of those boxes, believe it or not. Every issue that came up, and you would code it. And it's a reason it's important to code for reports like this. So the system generates these reports for you. And like I said, whoever is entering the data has to be accurate, or you'll get poor reports. Okay. Yeah. So you can have summaries, like if you have a top person that's coming to you and bugging you about the performance of it and they want to see something, you can simply print out a sheet and the system will categorize it for you. I think there's a couple more slides in here. Many of us use look-ahead projects, right? 16-week, 8-week. A lot of people use 8-week look-aheads, what to expect. Here's another type of report that can be generated from the system. So now we're getting down to the wire here, chartering. And this is where you agree as a team how you're going to conduct your business within the confines of the contract. What guiding principles are you going to use? And you try to, when things go wrong, which they do on projects all the time, you hang this in your office or truck, wherever you're working out of, and you go back to it and go, okay, this is what we agreed to do, folks. We need to get back to this. Because sometimes you'll stray away from how you're going to relate to each other, and it kind of grounds everybody back. Okay. When you close a project, of course, always leave with something in your back pocket. I talked about that before. Most good project managers like yourselves are all about coming up with great, next action item lists and things like that. And surveys, again, I say there's survey software out there. It's not that expensive and it's an easy way. We used to do it by paper. But when we found out that the survey software came along, we'd use that. And it's not really that expensive. And you can do it.
Hey, George, we are actually at our 8:50 mark.
Okay. All right, so a couple more slides here, and I'm pretty much well done. They will get the materials, correct, Alexis?
Yes, these are available as a PDF within
Great.
files.
Okay. So the next a couple more slides here, Robin, I wanted to look at all the way at the end, the lessons learned. And then all of the details here. We don't have to go through this. Everyone has a good measuring tools and everything else, but I would recommend you going through it on your own time. And yeah, you can skip all the design build. A lot of folks do a design build, and I figured, these tips would help you with that. Lessons learned. Okay, here we go. Back up, I'm sorry. So don't drop the ball. Don't make the processes too bureaucratic. I talked a lot about that. And focus on the reduced time required to make decisions. And then my contact list information is the very last slide. So if you want to go to that real quick, if they want it. Yeah, those are all the things I can send you if you're interested. And then that's my email. I can give you my number through Alexis and Robin if you want it. But you just shoot me an email, that'd be fine too. Well, thank you. And I know I had a lot of material, and please catch up on the material that we skipped over, and call me or email me if you have any questions about it. Thank you very much.
Thank you, George. We appreciate it.